it's an interesting argument. I would probably say that I would go with LeBron, and like you said, because his size, and I think he a better athlete. So that's who I would probably pick. But I think it's very close though. I mean,
it's closer
Pippen,
and I think the conversation is I think what Scottie is saying is before you start just looking at Jordan and LeBron, because that's the argument what Jordan is doing. In a draft, it's very close.
Right.
It's closer than you think. And let's not forget, Scottie Pippen was picked first round, 5th overall. Welcome everyone to another episode of Not Just Another Sports Show, aka No Jazz. I am your host, KD. And of course, we want you to all know that I have my other half of the show with me as well. Tank, go ahead and say hello to the people, Tank.
Hey, happy conference championship weekend, everybody. How y'all doing?
Happy conference championship weekend. Absolutely. And we want to make sure you all definitely hit that like button, hit that share button, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Join us on YouTube at No Jazz Show, NOJASSSHOW. Join us on Facebook at No Jazz Show. Join us on Instagram at NOJ.A.S.S, X at No Jazz Show, and of course TikTok at No Jazz Show. And if you're looking for us on Google, put at No Jazz Show, ampersand, and you should be fine. Now, as Tank has stated, it is definitely conference championship weekend. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that because there's some very interesting facts about NFL conference championships in the past decade that we're gonna point out. And before we get to that, we have some other news. We're gonna talk NIL, and of course, wide receivers. Jeremiah Smith, starting and making freshman out of Ohio State, and his counterpart that's up and coming, who actually wasn't even that much of a focal point. And some say Wright wasn't that much of a focal point because of how he was used. But nevertheless, it's been said or reported that they have been asked to get back in the portal for $1 million for Tate and $4.5 million for Smith. Now my thing is, I understand that you sign the contract year to year because you re-sign every year as a student athlete.
Scholarship, yeah.
Right. But when NIL, when you start dealing in finances, you tend to want to solidify a little bit something more long term that doesn't allow you to jump in and out of contractual financial obligations, whereas we understand that has by default been a issue of you don't want to lock the kid in for the next 3 or 4 years as they used to. But they need to come up with a better plan because I'm not about to have you negotiating with me each year, because you think you are worth that type of money, or someone has thrown that valuation in your face and have you thinking that. What do you think about that, Tank?
I'm with you. I don't think that they thought NIL out completely. They didn't foresee a lot of the issues that are there. They didn't foresee guys basically being assassins or mercenaries. Hey, I had a great, like Jeremiah. I had an outstanding freshman year. So and so, Mississippi State want to offer me $4.5 million in NIL to come there. I think I'm gonna jump in the portal and I'm gonna go there. Okay, Cause after 1 year, now you're at Mississippi State. And that's not who offered. I'm just using them for an example. So now he plays in Mississippi State his sophomore year. And he does well, or he does better than he did his freshman year. So now Penn State says, hey, they give you 4.5, we'll give you 6. I mean, where does it end? You gonna have do you want these kids going into the portal every year because somebody else offered them more money? What about living up to your contract? I say they should be locked in. If you got an NIL deal, you should have to remain at that school for 2 years. And then if you want to go somewhere else, you can. Because it's supposedly amateur athletics. And they're supposedly you're there as a student first and an athlete second. They're jumping all around. They let's say you finally graduate. You graduate on time in 4 years, and you decide, wait a minute, I think I'm gonna play another year because nobody's offering, because I'm not expected to be drafted too high. So now you're going. I don't like it. I don't think they thought it out well. And you got these kids. I'm all about getting some money, but I don't think that you should be basically getting set for life or getting such a great head start on life that we're going to pay you this kind of money. I don't know if it's 4.5, if they're offering him 4.5 million per year, or if it's 4.5 million for the remainder of his college career. But either one, it's getting ridiculous. You got some schools are not going to don't have NIL money, don't have deep pockets. Any school in Texas should be at the forefront because that oil money in Texas is more than what anybody else has. I just don't think that they've thought it out well at all, because also, what are you really teaching these kids? Well, you didn't, particularly a kid who didn't play as much as he thought he should. Well, I'm just finna go somewhere else because I ain't get to start as a freshman. Okay, there was a time, and yes, this is a while ago, but there was a time freshmen weren't allowed to play in the first place. They didn't get for 3 years because the freshman year, they were on basically a scout team or a JV team, and it was to help get them acclimated to college life, not just on the field, but also in the classroom. Now you got guys just jumping around. I don't like it. Do you go and quit a job every year because somebody offered you more money?
You know what? In this day and age, with certain genders, yes, they do.
Yeah.
Because that's you could tell where these kids get their thinking from.
Yeah.
This generation has commitment issues. Let's just be
Yeah.
real.
They do.
And the staff, coaches, ADs are in these circumstances negotiating deals based upon the fact that these kids they have issues with commitment.
They got
Now,
no loyalty.
yeah, and they haven't been raised with that. Now, having said that, you would also think that educational facilities such as colleges, collegiate sports itself, would understand how to research and study how to create a level of long-term contracts for these athletes. For instance, I'm going to look across the board, and since we're talking about these two kids, I'm going to look across the board and I'm going to say to myself this. I'm going to say, hey, what's the Big Ten looking like? Who's going to be are we a contender this year? Yes. Okay. We are a contender with this roster, and this is the roster that we know we have. Yes. Solidified. Yes. Where do you think we fall? Are we a playoff team? Yes. Okay. Now, if I know that, I am I'm not looking for the 1 year man, and I'm asking all of my boys who are on that roster right now, are you willing to sign another 2-year deal? You didn't play your freshman year. You decided to stay with us for your second year. You didn't jump in the portal because you didn't play your freshman year, and you know where your role is with this team. So you solidify yourself with us. Now, if I am in alumni trouble and I'm getting a lot from, hey, I didn't beat this team and I want to beat my rival this year, I want to make it to a bowl game because we need this type of money, then I have to assess it differently. Then I say, okay, let me get a mercenary for hire. Let me go get one of these guys for whom I know I can only have 1 year and I may lose them. I'm willing to take that chance with the money that we have in order to make the money back. But I think you alleviate that issue when you're going out and you recruit these kids and you start at least a 3-year deal. No, you start at, because they can leave their junior year. You start at least a 3-year deal commitment and then negotiate down. Oh no, I don't want to give you 3 years. Such and such is offering me. Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Such and such is offering me 25 for 1 year. Yeah, I'm willing to offer you 100 for 3. Committed. Oh yeah, I know I got to up the ante. No, I don't want to make that commitment like that for 3 years. That's too long for me. Cool. I'll negotiate down to 2.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to give you 1 year at 25 and another at 25. I'm going to give you the 50 right now. You know you guarantee 50. And I know I'm losing if you don't play your first year and you come in and play your second. But your value is still going to be what we think your valuation is going to be. Because guess what? Guess what? I don't wish this on anybody, but it is not odd for us, and we've seen it plenty of times. Maurice Claret would have probably got into the portal and asked for whatever he wanted. What did he do after that freshman year, though?
Nothing.
We are we're still taking this gamble on you because you've had a one, and some of y'all haven't even had a run. You're having a lightning in a bottle moment in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Mike Williams was another who had a good year at USC, the receiver, and tried to do the same thing and did nothing. I just think they need to put a cap on how much you can pay these guys, for one, and also they need to, like you said, they need to be able to have and get them locked in for X number of years, because, man, you could wind up at 4 different schools in 4 years because you keep jumping around. That's not good for the kid, and that's not good for the school. That's not good for the game. It was just like there was a reason why in the NBA they told them they got rid of their one. They didn't want to have they at least got them to one and done instead of, you have to stay there long. You need to have them where they stay there long enough to do something, not just basically come for a year and get a check and then go somewhere else for another check.
Because even with one and done, the math on one and done did yield you some Final Fours. Mathematically, like you didn't see too many one and done kids. Okay, I'm gonna go do one and done, and my team don't even go nowhere. The schools that were picking all them big time players, and they're one and done, it yielded some results.
Yeah, and
I don't. Football can't do that because you got to. Yeah,
you can't do that. Yeah, I just think they've got to go back and reevaluate and look at this thing as far as how much they're allowed to pay, how often you're going to be allowed to transfer, and when can you transfer. I mean, and I think there needs to be a legitimate reason, and it can't just be, well, so-and-so offered me more money, so I'm going to go.
Yeah, somebody. And that could be strategy within itself. Anybody can say, hey, go get in the portal. That might be Purdue, Penn State, Michigan putting that news out there to make you feel like you're good, to tilt the scales their way. Oh, they're going to lose him?
Yeah, and also people don't realize once you enter the portal, your scholarship with the school you're at, that ends. There's no money coming at all. And you have to wait and see if somebody offers you something. Because a lot of these kids, they doing it, but they don't already have an offer to go somewhere.
Oh my God. And remember, ladies, for all of your comfort and around the house wear, lingerie, comfy clothes, make sure you visit quickvisits.com. That's QUIKVISITS.com. For all of your lounge wear, lingerie wear, sport wear, workout wear, athletic wear, make sure you go to quickbusiness.com. They'll be there for you, and you'll love that. I tell you. Them some of the worst.
Yeah, you like, okay, I'm leaving, and then you don't get an offer because you thought that you were going to get one, and now you ass out because you can't go back to where you were, and nobody's offered you a scholarship for where you're going. Because it's not just, everybody's thinking NIL, but it's not just the NIL, it's a scholarship also. And there was a lot of pushback for forever when you say, well, these kids, you are getting your education paid for by playing ball here. Which, some people after a while they're saying, well, it's $200,000 to go to school, but the school is making X amount of millions off of. Okay, you give them some, but you don't let them just jump all around. I mean, the NFL doesn't work that way. Or no professional sports don't work that way. As soon as you get there, you sign your contract for 3-4 years, and after 1 year, okay, I want to go somewhere else. So and so would probably pay me more. I want to get out of this. No, you signed it.
You know what I don't like about, and this is probably the NFL's fault, because the NFL kind of controls the narrative of football. And then we're gonna move on to the next subject. But I just kind of want to say this: I don't like the fact that the NI takes the other positions from a football standpoint. They kind of take the other positions out of the equation. Like guards and left tackles are probably just as important, but it's not a glamour position. It's not a skill position. So who's going to wear their jersey? So these kids might not even know what their real valuation is to a team, because football itself is not going to look at that left tackle, didn't have anyone get sacked all season long, and that QBR of that quarterback or that wide receiver got so many yards because you can't do nothing on his side. But no one's trying to wear number 75 except his family. And I don't think that's fair in that regard. It's just the skill players. And that's really that's an unfortunate situation. Now, moving on to more unfortunate news. Fortunate for some, because I do have to bring up the Las Vegas Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys have hired new head coaches. One, well, you know what? In a sense, two familiar names. Last name for one. Offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer has been moved up to head coach for the Dallas Cowboys, and Pete Carroll is coming back coaching for the Las Vegas Raiders. I'll let you go first about your thoughts on it.
Nobody knows what the hell the Raiders are doing. I mean, Pete Carroll is proven it's proven that he's a winner. He's a good coach. His third go around in the NFL, he was successful. People forget when he was with the Patriots, he didn't do anything. He was with the Jets, he didn't do anything. He went to USC, and we all know he helped dominate college football for some years. And he came back to the NFL, and now the whole narrative of him as a coach has changed, which is fine. And I'm not into age discrimination, but he's 73. He'll be 74 this year before the season ends. They signed him to a 3-year deal. Unless he turns that team around this year and builds on it, in 3 years, he's going to be gone. And if they aren't in a better position than they are now, they basically wasted 3 years, because they're not going to get. I don't believe they're going to get their franchise quarterback neither in free agency or in the draft this year. I don't think it's going to happen for them next year. I think they're going to be a little better next year, simply because he's going to make them better. But I don't think they aren't doing anything. They're treading water means that you at least made some progress and you're trying to maintain it. That's a sinking rock. Pete just wanted a job and wanted to coach again. I don't think that hiring somebody at that age with a team that's that that has so many holes in it is a smart thing for that coach, and it's not a smart thing for the organization. You should have gotten a younger coach, a coordinator, or somebody to come in, give them a 5-year deal to turn things around. Why would you sign any coach starting out with a 3-year deal? What is he going to do in 3 years? Especially when your team is that bad. The Raiders have one of the worst rosters in the league. They got Max Crosby, who's a good DN, and you got Pro Bowl rookie tight end and Brock Bowers. There's nothing else that the Raiders have. There's what's alluring about that job other than living in Vegas and not having to pay state income tax? What's alluring about that job? Nothing. It's not a it's no longer looked at as a flagship franchise because they've been sorry since 2002, which is the last time they made it to a Super Bowl. They haven't done anything since. 1 or 2 playoffs appearances does not make you a flagship franchise. The team has been horribly run, horribly coached, and the drafting is ridiculous. I don't understand why they went and got Pete Carroll. I don't understand. It would be one thing if their team had a lot of talent and just needed someone to bring it together. I could understand that, but there's nothing. There's nothing on their roster to make the job appealing. And I think they're going to be basically in the same boat next at the end of his 3 years that they're in now, because they don't even have a GM yet.
You know, I totally agree with you. And looking at and it's funny that coincidentally we're talking about these two story franchises, which probably are two of the more we're not going to say popular brands, but definitely popular and marketing brands that the NFL has. These two brands are, when you go to the airport and you go to the malls in these cities, they have standalone stores that sell their merchandise. In that instance, I can probably see how you're trying to use a name like Pete Carroll, who is an NFC West name, now AFC West, to kind of sell that. But I don't agree from an age standpoint. But if they would have went, Antonio Pierce is 46 years old.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have, instead of giving Antonio Pierce that 1 year to be the head coach, because now you got to get him out of there. If they would have kind of the same thing I wanted Tampa Bay to do with, from a player standpoint, with Jameis Winston and Tom Brady. But they felt that they couldn't do that because Jameis Winston was a starter. But my point is, if you told Antonio Pierce last year, we're going to bring in Pete Carroll, I'm going to still use Pete Carroll's name. Pete Carroll, 77 years old. Antonio, here's your job. This is your job. You are a head coach in waiting. We believe in this guy's philosophy, even though his philosophy is probably going to seem outdated because of his age. Because he's going to be 80 years old when his 3 years is up. But when his 3 years is up, you're going to be 49, 50 years old, which is kind of right in that range that we want you to be. But we just don't feel like you have a philosophy to make you a head coach, and you may not have the success we want if we put you in raw going into your first year. It's a gamble. And as you can see, that gamble didn't pay off for them. So if they would have did this, if they would have done this last year in this same situation with a 46 going on 50-year-old head coach by the time he takes over, makes sense to me. If you already have a person in mind that's going to do this under Pete Carroll, I'm cool with it too. It's kind of like what Belichick is trying to do for his son, even though it's a level of nepotism in that, but kind of what Belichick trying to do for his son in North Carolina. I get it. I understand, because yes, Pete Carroll at 70-something years old, he's a very vibrant 70-year-old. He's not like a lot of 70-year-olds. I just feel like that's still an out of touch number if you don't win now. And I doubt he will. It's not the thing. Now, Schottenheimer, Brian Schottenheimer, he comes from the lineage of Marty Schottenheimer. I said this a few weeks ago about what I was looking for as far as a head coach out of the Cowboys. And I have to be honest, I didn't get who I wanted because I don't know who I wanted, but I did kind of get my wish. 51 years old, still kind of young, in touch with the players, opportunity to create and build from where you are. I personally wanted, they got the guy in the age group. I would have loved Pete Carroll's bravado persona in Dallas, but I still would have said, nah, 70 something years old, that's not what I want.
Yeah.
The whole Dion call, I never liked that from the jump because I even said in my own correspondence, on one of our shorts, Prime has to solidify himself as something first. He's just a very popular coach. He has yet to become a winning coach. He has not given anyone on any level, college or pro, any reason to believe he's a winner as a coach. So a lot of people might take that out of context and think I'm knocking Dion, but no, he just, what does Prime want? You know, we don't know who Prime wants to be. So that's why I wasn't too sold on the coach Prime and the Cowboys. So I definitely was Johnson, Kingsbury desires. I'm not upset with the Schottenheimer thing because he kind of falls in that little. He's on that plane, even though I don't know his success. The only thing I don't like is he's a Schottenheimer, and if he's anything like his father, he's gonna always be a bridesmaid, not a bride.
Yeah, I don't like the hire. I mean, I know why Jerry got him. Jerry got him because there's continuity and he can be a puppet and he can get him out of there in 3 years. But generally, you don't hire somebody to be the face of your franchise from the coaching standpoint that nobody else was after. Who else mentioned Schottenheimer as a candidate for a head coaching job? Nobody.
Do you need people? Here's the thing. All of your food delivery needs. Make sure you go to Light Snack. That's LYTE snack.com. And make sure for all your deliveries, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you visit Light Snack and they'll deliver it right to your door. And make sure when you get those deliveries, make sure you're ordering those Magic City wings. And remember, their motto, don't forget to lick the sauce. Dallas is the name you run through everybody with. If Dallas has an open position, all you got to say is, this is even for free agency. All you got to say is such and such looking at him, and then that's how they become a name, and that's how you act like everybody. That's how you act like everybody after them. All you need is one good announcer to say somebody's after him, so you act like everybody after him. Detroit was going far enough to act like Detroit was going far enough for us to give Johnson and Aaron Glenn the credibility to believe that they're good. To be honest with you, are they really as good as are they? Do we really think, or do we really know? Because that's what they said. He's any better than Schottenheimer. No, you really don't. You really don't.
But just looking at the play calling and everything, you don't see there was nothing about the play calling that stood out. He didn't, like you always like to say, he never did.
McCarthy was calling the plays.
Yeah, so that in itself tells me, okay, maybe McCarthy didn't have enough faith or trust in him as his coordinator to run off. I just don't.
McCarthy in this situation had came off of, well, we done did the Kellen Moore thing.
Yeah,
that's not working. And then you see Kellen Moore, who hasn't done too much with Philadelphia. Philadelphia's just a good team. So, like I don't know about that one. I'm saying, like, anybody can give anybody a name from a sought-after standpoint.
Yeah, I just don't like the Schottenheimer choice. I would have preferred if I was a Cowboys fan, I would have preferred that you go and at least look else, see what else is out there. Slowick, he just got fired. I mean, with Houston. I mean, maybe he would have been a viable candidate. I think Schottenheimer was the safe and also, like I said, he can be Jerry's puppet because Jerry does not want anybody to take any shine from him. Jerry's the only owner, GM, with everything else who does a press conference every week on his own show about the team and also is holding court right after the game before you get a chance to talk to the players or the coach about what transpired.
So
He
so basically, here's what's going on. Because I want to know I want to know how it tastes, because you seem to be drinking the Kool-Aid too. And what that is Jerry does this, Jerry does that. You know, you can't change who your mama is, Tank. You can't change who your father is. You know what I'm saying? They might be bad parents, but the truth of the matter is, Tank gonna still have to take accountability for Tank, because your parents are just gonna be what they are. And that's when I use that analogy to be like, Jerry ain't going nowhere.
yeah.
Jerry ain't trying to. Jerry is geriatrics. Jerry ain't trying to not be the GM until he meets his he goes on to glory. So my thing is, even with you all saying what you're saying about Jerry, you're drinking the Kool-Aid, because it doesn't matter who's the coach. It doesn't matter who's the popular coach. You could have brought Prime in there. The truth of the matter is this: for the past 25 years, we have not drafted a first round quarterback. That is the consistency that anybody coaching. That is actually a consistency with any successful coach team, with the exception of what people are believing Brady was. And that's the Kool-Aid that you all got to get off of that too. Because Jaden Daniels is now showing you, Patrick Mahomes has now showed you, Josh Allen has now showed you, that is still the formula. Dallas, for the past 25 years, Chad Hutchinson, not undrafted,
Yeah.
Quincy Carter, second round,
Second round. Romo.
Dak Prescott, third round, Tony Romo, undrafted.
Undrafted.
When you put those quarterbacks up against, no matter who's been the coach, these are your results. When you put, even though he was drafted in the 10th round, that was due to the fact that he was a Navy, but everybody knows Roger Staubach. Everybody knows Roger Staubach was a Heisman Trophy winner, national championship. So they know caliber wise where he was matching up with Tom Landry. Everyone knows where Troy Aikman was matched up with Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy.
When do we win our championships? Those two. Who's winning championships now? So my thing is, I'm not drinking the Jerry Kool-Aid. I can't like the hire, because I can't judge the hire. I can't judge Jason Garrett. I can't judge Brian Campo. I can't judge Bill Parcells. I can't judge Bum Phillips.
Switzer.
Wade Phillips.
Wade Phillips.
What's the difference? I can't judge those guys against a first round quarterback. The only first round quarterbacks we've had who were actually number one picks was Vinny Testaverde, past 25 years. Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe. And then look at how old they were when they were.
Yeah,
So
they were just place fillers.
Exactly. Jerry might be saying, I don't want another Troy Aikman in here, just as much as I don't want another Jimmy. Okay, that's fine, because he's showing us that too. But until you get me another first round quarterback, I can't drink the Kool-Aid of Jerry getting in the way this, Jerry getting in the way that. I don't like the hire of the coach, because the coach never really has a real solid quarterback. You can say that about the Raiders.
But then you have the other argument of a coach is supposed to develop the player, but there's only so much you're going to get out of guys.
There's only
I
so
think
much
it's
development
going
you're
to
gonna
hurt Schottenheimer.
with a guy.
Yeah, I just think that it's going. I don't think that Schottenheimer.
How much development has Dan Quinn really had to do with Jaden Daniels?
But we know about some that's helped Jaden. But yeah, you got to. I just don't. I don't like to hire, but at the same time, nobody that's not going to be a puppet is going to get hired by Jerry. I think Schottenheimer is not going to rock the boat. He's not going to do anything that's going to make Jerry feel like, hey, he's taking away my shine. I think he's just going to have to. He's going to have to keep his head down, just do his job, and hope that things work out. Because if what we saw last year was Jerry being all in, every Cowboy fan, if Jerry says again, hey, we're all in and we like our roster, it's gonna be another long year.
What gives you? Let's be honest. What gives you credibility as a coach?
Winning.
Number one, winning. Jimmy didn't come in. Bill Belichick and Jimmy, let's use those two. Bill Belichick and Jimmy came in with neophyte owners who aren't going to say too much. They're going to sit back and learn the business. So they ended up winning while the owners are learning how to be owners. But as they are winning, they are also making their owners winners. What's going on in Washington? Washington hasn't won in a long time. Dan Quinn came in a Super Bowl coach, not winning coach, but coach.
Mm-hmm.
He had more than the only other winner from a football standpoint or championship standpoint is Magic.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Magic can sit on his resume with the Dodgers, sit on his resume as with the Lakers, and say I'm a winner. But football now, Dan Quinn is getting his growth while the Commanders are getting their growth. Everybody is going to come at that table saying, I want this, I want this. Well, I got the right to say this too, because everybody gonna have those W's. Winning is what the Poland crew over there in Kansas City. He was coming off what was going on at New England, but Kansas City hadn't done anything.
Right.
Andy Reid was a bridesmaid, not a bride.
Yeah, he didn't step into the next level until him and Mahomes got together.
First round.
He was always a good coach, but he had a first round quarterback in McNabb, but hey, he ran up against some teams that were better.
Exactly. So all of that happening at the same time. What I'm saying is, you're not going to have a voice with Jerry until you win. You got to step in there. This is what Jerry gonna give me. This is who Jerry's gonna beat. Win. Jerry hasn't won in a long time. He himself can't live off what he did 30 years ago. Guess what? You kind of had this. The trophy shelf say this, but you kind of got to start all over. Any coach, you need to come in there and you need to say, hey man, if you're really gonna give me a chance, get me my first round quarterback. Get this mediocrity out of here. So I know I have solidified me a looking across the board. You see who win it. I have solidified me a legitimate prospect to where when you fire me in 3 years and you made me your puppet, I can see I didn't do nothing. Just like Bill Parcells used to say, let's not crown this boy champion because he hasn't done anything. E.g. Tony Romo.
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season for the Cowboys and for Schottenheimer because we're gonna see what kind of leash he's on. I wouldn't be surprised if things don't go right for him first 2 years that he didn't even make it to a third.
Yeah. And the one thing you gotta say, and the one thing you gotta look at this too, man. It's something going on in there that is falling back on the coaches. I'm still saying the quarterback, but let's be real. These guys are leaving Dallas and becoming champions. These guys are leaving Dallas as coaches and getting the conference championship game and having situations to where they are looked upon as, good hires for head coaches or going to be the next guy to do this and do that. Number one offenses, top 10 offenses, top 10 defenses. So Jerry has hired these guys. Now, I don't know if they learn once they leave, but
or they've already had things that they wanted to do, but they weren't allowed to implement it. Jerry is like Al Davis.
W's help that. W's help that. Jerry don't do clock management, Mike McCarthy. Jerry don't cause fumbles. Jerry ain't throwing off his back foot, Dak. You ain't that dude. You ain't Brett Favre. So that's difficult. Now, moving right along, we talking about GMs, development, coaches. We're going to get to another part of that development. We're going to get to this development first because we're developing ourselves into this conference championship. Scottie Pippen is on a talk show and says that he was a better number 2 player than LeBron James was a number 1 player. And I kind of want you to stay within that mindset of GMs making decisions. And then he was asked in the second part of that question, if you had a draft, not knowing anything about the players. You're just looking at attributes, physical capabilities. You've probably seen them play a few times to kind of understand their game, but you don't know what they are as a career. Would you choose LeBron James over Scottie Pippen? Scottie says, I don't know. I felt like that was a legitimate I don't know. And here's why. Scottie Pippen's about 6'8", 245 pounds coming out of the draft. LeBron's 6'9", more close to 6'9", 260. Both of them long arms, attributes, big. LeBron's stronger, can dribble. Technically, I could make an argument about Scottie's athleticism over LeBron's athleticism. Scottie was a point forward. LeBron is basically a point forward. So if I chose in the draft, because you're looking for a number one player depending on what you need, I probably would take LeBron over him just off size. That's gonna be, he's just bigger. But my next man is still Scottie. And so when you go through the top 75 players, who would you pick over Scottie? Or who do you pick as your franchise player before you start getting to saying, okay, now I'm gonna pick Scottie, even though Scottie was a career Batman to Superman. I ain't gonna call him Robin.
That's interesting because you're basically saying that, and Scottie's saying that I was better as a number 2 than LeBron is as a number 1. And could you flip flop them and get the same results? I think it gets down to not just your physical ability, but your mental ability as well. I think LeBron early on, especially, he was talked about and critiqued for passing the ball too much and not being the guy to want to take the shot. Or they said he didn't want to take the shot. I used to hear people saying, well, he's got everything that you need, but he doesn't seem to want to be that guy. He's too focused on getting everybody else involved. Like he doesn't want to be the top dog. And then later in his career, he's become that. So I think that Pippen's mentality is better suited for being a number 2. Not that and you might say, hey, well, when he was a number 1 without Jordan, what did they do? But it's an interesting argument. I would probably say that I would go with LeBron, and like you said, because his size, and I think he a better athlete. So that's who I would probably pick. But I think it's very close though. I mean,
it's close to
Pippen,
and I think the conversation is, I think what Scottie is saying is, before you start just looking at Jordan and LeBron, because that's the argument what Jordan is in a draft, it's very close.
Right.
It's closer than you think. And let's not forget, Scottie Pippen was picked first round, 5th overall.
Yeah.
Lottery picks are top 10. So the Seattle Supersonics, looking at their draft in 1987, said this could be our guy, because that's you pick those picks to be your guy.
Yeah.
He was put in a situation to be a career number 2. Sort of like, guess who else? Kobe. Kobe could have easily grew to be the guy in Charlotte, but you put him in a situation to be number 2 under Shaq. It's just what it was. He was never going to be number 1 with Shaq. Guess who else? Guess who else was a number 1 who got put in a situation to be number 2 because of Shaq?
Penny.
Who was picked before Penny? Chris Webber.
Yeah.
Chris Webber was going to Orlando, and as a power forward, Shaq said, we the same people. That's not to say that situation wouldn't have been something else. That's not to say that they couldn't have made the playoff, because Chris Webber did do his thing in Golden State. But they just felt like, okay, we're going to get the same thing, but a different thing with the 6'9" Penny. We'd rather have the Magic Kareem situation rather than the Twin Towers situation.
Twin Towers.
So it's hard to say someone wasn't a number one when they really
Yeah,
got
he
picked
just
like they were.
picked to be a number one, but ended up in a situation where you were number two. But if push came to shove, we believe that you could be a number one.
Think about it. Ralph Sampson was the player of the year. Ralph Sampson was the player of the year in college twice.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Houston. Guess who they pick up?
Wasn't that Elijah one?
Come on. Who's number two? James
Yeah,
Worthy. James Worthy was the number one pick overall and went to be the number three.
number two, three. Yeah.
You're number three.
So,
You can't
I
knock
mean,
anybody. You can't knock anybody for being such a good player. Oh, I know how to be number three. I know how to be number two.
yeah. If you got number one ability and your team needs you to be a number two, that helps your team because that means there's somebody else at number one who is as good or better than you. It's nothing wrong with being a number two who in most places would be a number one. Because it's a mismatch for whomever you're playing because you're like, dang, both of them could be number ones. How are we gonna stop the number two? The number two is just as deadly or can be just as deadly as the one when the time calls for it. So yeah, that's an interesting argument. And it's crazy. It's crazy to bring it up. You know what I mean? That's not something that anybody's gonna actually just think about. But yeah, I was a better number two than he's been as a number one.
And let's not forget, look at how the number ones have created the number one status. The people love scoring.
Yeah.
But guess what? There's some people out there who are basketball purists, even sports purists. You can do this with football and say, how is your guy that scores 30 points considered your number one when your guy that can defend 1 through 4, has 5 blocks a game, has 6 assists a game, and get you 22 points, is your number two? He's doing more for me than just scoring, but my scoring guy is the number one. That's
Hey.
what.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
That's what he's talking about. If you don't have me, my boy don't get 40. If Magic ain't pushing this ball up the floor and Worthy out here on the wing being a great number three that you can't guard one-on-one, which leaves an older Kareem out there to do what he does, do Kareem things, still pushing 25, 26 at his age, because Magic was a number two.
Yeah, when he got there, yeah, he was.
He was number two.
And yeah, and eventually transitioned to being a number one.
Like Kobe did.
Yeah.
So we can't, that's a very interesting, but you still need that guy because Kobe, just like Magic, hey, the big guy's not into it, man. Dial it back. Okay.
Right.
Because a good number two understands that.
Yeah, play your role.
Play your role.
Play your role. Don't overshadow, don't do we want you doing this because this is going to be what's best for the team chemistry and translate to wins.
Exactly. Now, great transition into the conference championship weekend. Play your role. And I'm going to begin with Kansas City versus Buffalo. Let's stick with this. Let's stick with this narrative. Who's your number one
for
on each team?
Quarterback for both.
Absolutely.
And I think that I was talking to a friend of mine. He didn't believe me or didn't get what I was saying, but these are two offenses that are led by tremendous quarterbacks. You give the edge to Kansas City, sort of, I guess, but they don't have any stars anywhere else. Kansas City has Kelsey, and that's it. They don't have any other names. You know what I mean? And Buffalo has Josh Allen, and Cook isn't a big name. He doesn't have any weapons that's going to keep both of these games offenses are really centered on the quarterbacks being great and making everybody else around them better, with the exception of Kelsey, because he's an outstanding tight end. But none of the other weapons on either offense are going to make you stop, look, and listen. They're both very efficient, but there's nothing. There's no start. What I'm saying is, outside of the quarterbacks, outside of Josh Allen, there's no star power on the offense with the Bills, and outside of Mahomes, of course. If you take Kelsey out, there's no star power there. Everybody else just plays their role and does just enough.
And these guys might be. You might have to actually go and dissect their play to say, that was your number two. You just didn't really. You didn't really you didn't really understand it or realize. Or football has enough players where with that number one, each situation and matchup, you might find another number two.
Because there's no 1,000-yard wide receivers on either team.
On either team,
you're looking at 800-something yards as the leading receiver for the Bills, and what's his name had? No, I'm not including Kelsey because he's a tight end. But
no, exactly. So having said that, and we're gonna move to the next one. Do you want to do score or just picks? Who are you picking?
If Josh Allen does what he's capable, decides to be Superman, but play within the constraints of the offense and not just try to take over. And if he can get some of those calls that Mahomes gets, they have a chance of winning. But at the same time, when you look at history, you say eventually you keep knocking at the door. Eventually you're gonna knock it. You're gonna kick it in. That's generally what happens. He's beat. Josh has lost to Mahomes 3-4 times in the playoffs. There's no reason to think that he's not gonna get it done one day. The fact that Kansas City is at home, and I think Kansas City has a better defense, is why I would pick Kansas City. But I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be, because neither offense is explosive. Both defenses, though, pretty good.
Both offenses are opportunistic.
Yeah.
And those opportunities can turn into explosion if you're not careful.
I think it's gonna be a chess match, but the Chiefs have a way of being in there, hanging in there, it's close, and then at the end of the game, it's 30 seconds left. You got to go 90 yards. Mahomes gets it done for a field goal or for a touchdown. That's what Josh is going to have to match. I do give the edge athletically and quarterback and as far as athletically, raw physical ability to Josh, because Josh has legs. Mahomes has opportunistic legs. Josh can actually just run. And it's not too many people who are really trying to get in Josh's way once he gets up full head of steam. Mahomes, on the other hand, has perfected the flops and drawing calls. Just like last week, he was on his way out of bounds, and I get basketball, you would say you were taking a charge. He slowed up just enough before his foot went out of bounds so that he got pushed to make it look like it.
Exactly.
Look like it.
I'm going to go back to a point when I make my picks, because my picks are so conspiratorial, if that's a word, and football related. But I'm going to go back to something because I want to validate. I'm not validating the Schottenheimer hire. I just want to validate something. Let me get this correct. Who was anybody coming out of Carolina? Was anybody really after Sean McDermott? Was he a big name? Just start right there. He wasn't internal because he went from Carolina to, and I don't remember if Carolina had one of those defenses at that time. They might have had a little bit of the last bit of Cam, and definitely Kuechly, and my boy that's in San Francisco now. running back,
McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey, running wild to give him some kind of 10-6 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, Josh Allen is first round, 7th pick. So formula-wise, you got a no-name coach who has solidified himself. He's just kind of coming to bumps in the road called Patrick Mahomes. And I'm going to put Lamar in there. And Joe Burrow, because I believe the Joe Burrow situation and their coach had the same thing. That have kind of, for the past 7 seasons since he's been coached, since 2017 or something like that, kind of kept him out of the way. But they have had a formula that's had them in conference championship games twice. I think this is the second one for him. So, without being a sought-after coach, the formula works. So, I just kind of want to put that out there. I want to put that out there. Now, we have this. I really believe, this is crazy. The NFL wants a 3-peat champion.
Yeah, that's why I want to see them at least get to the Super Bowl and see if they can. Because I like history.
I like history, and I think the NFL wants that. The issue I have with that history is the opponent, and we're gonna get to the opponent. But the last time the Cowboys went on a run, so basically what I'm saying, if Buffalo sneaks in and win, I don't know who plays first. If Washington,
Buffalo and KC is first.
If Buffalo wins, I want Washington to win because the last time the Cowboys went on a run, it was the Super Bowl of Washington and Buffalo in 1991 that led to the dynasty. So I'm just gonna put that out.
Lord.
I do believe I'm gonna say it's KC. Now the interesting part of that is this. The interesting part of the KC thing is if KC wins, they're jokingly they're the Chiefs, not the Chefs. And the Commanders win, that's going to be a very interesting talking point because aren't the Chiefs also Indians?
Yeah, for us who've been around or whatnot, when you think Washington Super, last time they went there, it was the Redskins. I thought about that last week. I was saying, man, if it would be two tribal teams, but
two tribal teams where one was given the business about their even when they changed their logo. Remember, they changed the logo a little. They changed the logo to the spirit, and it still wasn't good enough for them. One utilizes more Indian tribal than the other because the Chiefs use FSU's chant.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be interesting if it's the Chiefs and the Commanders against each other because the hypocrites got to come out to play.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see those two.
I would like that one too because I don't want to see. It's so crazy being a Cowboys fan.
Either way, your division rivals getting in there.
I'm really like the AFC over here because I can't even be looking. I don't want to see the Eagles and I don't want to see the Redskins. The Commanders.
Now, one thing. Now, Buffalo, we all know they went to 4 straight and they lost. There's a 30 for 30, the 4 falls of Buffalo. Would it be? Can you imagine the cloud and the burden lifted off of the Bills if they actually win it all? But they got to win tomorrow first to get there. And do you think that those old ghosts are going to come up? Because you remember after the second Bills loss, and then especially after the third, when their fans were like, we don't want to go back because we're going to lose again.
Who did we just see? Who did we just see? It was college. All those former players on the sideline hoping. Or was it Detroit?
Detroit had Barry and Megatron on the sideline.
Yeah. Detroit had all them Hall of Fame. We gonna do this. So all that losing history, you see Sally and Thurman and I think Kelly still with him. Yeah,
Bruce.
it'd be cool to see them on the sideline because guess what? They crash and burn right in your face. Hold on. The LA Rams did it too.
Yeah.
Y'all be having all them. Y'all be having all them ghosts. They crash and burn right in your face every time.
Yeah, and for the team that loses, well, the Chiefs, it ain't. Well, Buffalo. If Buffalo loses, is their window still open or is their window closed?
Oh,
I think that
that window right there with Baltimore, and
yeah, I think their window is still open, but there's a possibility that they don't overcome it because, hey, at this point, Mahomes is standing like the Colossus of Rhodes for anybody that's trying to get to the Lombardi. It's like, hey, we got to beat Mahomes in order to get as far you generally you draft and you build your team to win your division. Now you have to build your team. If you feel that you're good enough to make it to the playoffs, you got to build a team that's good enough to beat the Chiefs.
how old is Patrick Mahomes?
He's 27.
Okay, so let's hypothetically, and then we're gonna move on to
Mm-hmm.
because I think we both have said that Kansas City is the team that we feel.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick Mahomes can win a Super Bowl. We don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's the AFC Championship. Patrick Mahomes could win a Super Bowl, and this would be number
4.
4. Patrick Mahomes deserves a 10-year run of nothing. Didn't Brady get one?
Yeah, almost 10.
Yeah, Patrick, and we know how the people are. We know how fans are. They'll treat you like Bow Wow. They gonna
Mm-hmm.
forget you had all them hits.
Yep. Man, it's been 6 years and we ain't won a championship. Maybe Pat needs to go.
Pat literally at 27 years old will be 28 next year, going into a season at 28 with 4 Super Bowl championships, and can take realistically, he can take a good 5 years, 6 years off and be 34 with a whole new scheme of players and really be okay. I'm going to be a Terry Bradshaw. I'm going to be the Terry Bradshaw. I'm going to be the Tom Brady. Now I'm going to sit back here and game manage in my latter years. Let this defense really be this good. Let this running back who we just drafted, this young boy, we don't know who he is, or this wide receiver, be the guy and have that 3-year run. He deserves that now. Like I'm not even putting it on 4. 4 is just the fact that he got the 3-peat. He
Yeah.
deserved it at 3.
Man,
Numerically, he got records. All your food delivery needs. Make sure you go to Light Snack. That's LYTE snack.com. And make sure for all your deliveries, whether it's breakfast, lunch, or dinner, you visit Light Snack and they'll deliver it right to your door. And make sure when you get those deliveries, make sure you're ordering those Magic City wings. And remember, their motto, don't forget to lick the sauce. So that's a very interesting situation for Mr. Mahomes. Now, moving along to why I feel like that window for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, because we spoke on it on last episode, it's too many young gunners because Patrick Mahomes gonna be sitting up on top of the mountain, and either way it go, Patrick Mahomes, if he meets Jalen Hurts, that's turned into their own Super Bowl rival. Jaden Daniels, if he meets him, creates a new one. And this a rookie.
I want to see them go just because it'll be history to see a rookie quarterback getting to the Super Bowl.
Oh, I got to see this too. It'll be a rookie quarterback into the Super Bowl, and will it be the first time? Will this be? No. It won't be the first time 2 blacks. The 2 blacks was Hurts and Mahomes, right?
Yeah, Hurts and Mahomes. That's it.
That's it, right? So I want to see that now. Who do you have winning that?
I would say everything tells me that Philly is supposed to win because you got a rookie quarterback. But looking at we've seen Daniels was using virtual reality back when he was in college, and they said the games were easier for him when he got to LSU because he'd already played the games at 1.75 seconds faster,
right,
than than he would in a regular game, and he'd already seen every scenario, so he's already played the games. So and that it was in his contract for wherever he was going to go. He wanted in his contract that they would use virtual reality for him to, and I think it's brilliant. But I still think that I think Philly's going to win because I just think Philly has too much firepower on offense. If Hurts plays better than he's been playing. If he doesn't, all those weapons are going to waste because it shouldn't just be Saquon. It's the reason why you win. Hurts has to step up and he has to play like the quarterback that they paid all that money to because there's no reason for Smith and Brown not to be putting up numbers every week. Then their defense that Philly has is, it's top notch. When they own it, they own it. And Washington, I just think they're outmatched. I think it's going to be a good game. I don't think it's going to get it blown away, and I don't think the moment is going to be too big for Daniels. Now they got to make sure the moment isn't too big for the other guys. Make sure people aren't dropping balls, people aren't fumbling, people aren't just missing tackles because Philly is loaded. Philly is a good team. They're loaded, and you remember when we first started, I picked Philly as one of my two teams from the NFC to make it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And here's the no one picked the Commanders because we just didn't feel it already. I felt like and I still actually feel like, and not that I'm saying he's better. I'm not saying that at all. But I do feel like Dak Prescott being healthy for the season X is one of those out. I think they X out Philly or what the Commanders are doing to a degree, or the NFC East ends up being one of those teams that would have been the one to put 3 in the playoffs with a healthy Dak, and that's still not saying that those guys couldn't have done what they done. But I want to go back to this point. Coming out of Indianapolis, do you remember if Nick Sirianni was a highly sought after coach?
I think he was getting some run because I remember his name being bumped because they did like the things he was doing with the offense.
With the offense, right? Okay,
yeah.
All right. Now he's young. He's had to get those wins under his belt. He instituted Jalen Hurts early, but Jalen Hurts falls out of that equation because Jalen Hurts is second round. Now, here's what makes Jalen Hurts interesting in this 3 out of 4 thing that I'm trying to say in regards to Brian Schottenheimer and the Dallas Cowboys need to get back to first round situation. Who was what's Kyler Murray's
Kingsbury drafted.
Who was Baker Mayfield's coach at Oklahoma?
Kingsbury was there, wasn't
he? Yeah. Who, when Jalen Hurts leaves Alabama, who's his coach that makes him a better quarterback even though he's a second round pick? Kingsbury. Kingsbury gets him as a Heisman hopeful even though he was a second round pick. Who is in the NFC Championship game with a top 2 pick?
Yeah, Kingsbury. But you also got to remember, Washington.
Hold on, before you go there. Okay. So in a sense, Jalen Hurts is a first round type quarterback, which puts him right back into this thing that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Now go ahead.
I think the thing about Washington, I mean, they've done this, that, and the other, and Hurts. Jaden Daniels has been extremely, extremely level and done well. But Washington is really a couple of bonehead plays by the opposition from not even being in the playoffs. We aren't looking at a dominant team.
About Dak not being hurt.
Yeah, we aren't looking at a dominant team.
You're not looking at a dominant team. You're looking at, like I said, one of them bonehead plays or lucky plays takes Cincinnati out of it.
Yeah.
So the thing about this matchup, man, is Dan Quinn knows him some Philly. He can coach against some Philadelphia. He has been facing a better Philadelphia team than he has put on the field at least, I think it's 6 times. He was 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah.
5 times Philly been the better team. One of those times, Jalen Hurts was hurt. So Quinn knows how to ball against Philly. The only thing Dan Quinn, well, you know what? And I would be lying if I said Dan Quinn don't know how to play Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, but he's never played against this. He's never coached against this Saquon. I don't think that there's any reason other than some boneheaded plays and make some boneheaded plays and also some turnovers and just being flat. There's no reason, man for man, that Philly should lose this game.
So you have a rematch. Free.
Yeah.
KC versus Philly.
22, yeah.
2022. KC versus Philly. That boy Magic Johnson has lived a charmed life, boy.
Except for the Magic Hour.
Oh, you mean when he was trying to be Arsenio?
Yeah. The Magic Hour was
You know what?
was a hard watch.
And his head coaching debut.
Yeah, but other than that, you're right. He's with the exception of he lived a charmed life.
Yeah, it was 1991.
Yeah.
News that shocked the world.
I don't think there's any reason if they play the way they're capable of for Philly to lose. Sirianni doesn't need to coach. He just needs to let the machine go and not be in the thing. Well, I want to try this. Don't try anything stupid. Do exactly what got you there. You don't need to switch up anything. Well, we're not going to run Saquon as much because they're going to be no. You do exactly what got you there. And if that doesn't work, you make an adjustment or you just die with it. You live and die by what got you there. Washington's playing with house money. I expect some trick plays and some everything coming out of Washington because yeah. It's 4th and 8 on their 30 in the first 5 minutes of the first quarter. We going for it. We ain't supposed to be here no way.
You know what, man? I might be wrong, but I've been waiting on this to happen. And it hasn't happened yet. But it might not happen because he pulled up. So and then if it does happen, I'm actually contradicting myself on why I felt like Saquon shouldn't go for the record. And remember, you felt like he should, because if Saquon loses and doesn't make it to the Super Bowl, I think you at least gave him making it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't necessarily say he needed to win it, but you said making it to the Super Bowl is the only thing that offsets him not getting that record.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm contradicting myself in this regard because he's well on his way. But I think Saquon do one of them Saquon-like games.
Yeah, feed him the ball, feed him the rock.
One of those old Giant games where we felt he was overrated. Here's what I mean by that. I have no doubt that Dan Quinn is looking at film saying, let's take him out of the game. Let's go pull a Buffalo versus Baltimore. Get up, score every time until you take Derrick Henry out of the game and you forget you have him. I believe I can go up 14 and then have more opportunity to say Jalen beat me. And that's where it gets even for me.
I don't think they're going to be able to stop. I mean, let's say if they bottle Saquon up or they keep him at 60 or 80 yards and they double up Brown, I still think that Smith can kill him.
Smith is a killer.
Yeah.
Smith is a guy that goes back to a number one that plays number two.
Number two, yeah.
Very well. Very well.
And he's a legitimate. He would be a number one if he was drafted to be a number one. So he would. So he could kill. He could really kill them tomorrow, even if Brown is somehow bottled up. They just don't have to dump a couple of passes off to Goddard at tight end, and Saquon just keep him honest. The key for them is not only Saquon running well, but Hurts being accurate and making the right decision.
Got a question for you.
Uh-huh.
Did Smith end up being the number 2 because of Hurts? Like Hurts is one of them quarterbacks that needs a Brown and a Smith to be effective. And now we see Saquon Barkley.
That's got some legs. I think also he needed Brown because Hurts isn't the most accurate.
Right.
You know, he doesn't throw guys open. So Brown gives him a larger radius.
He gave him a lot of
catching radius and
right.
he's more of an eraser than Smith.
Absolutely.
So I think that's why he's number 2 now. But if you send him somewhere else,
with a different
Brown would leave,
you would see how that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think he is. I won't say from a play standpoint, but I think he has with anybody else. You can put him on Buffalo and he end up with CD Lamb numbers.
Yeah. And I think what they also didn't like about him, or they questioned his size or whatnot. I don't think his size is the real issue, because there's some guys who they're just endomorphs. They don't put on much weight.
He just want them in. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I mean, my thing was with him and also with Bryce Young. I'm like, these dudes were in the Bama program for 3 years and gained 2 pounds. It's not because they weren't putting in the work. That's just the way they are genetically.
And if you're going to find out you're not big enough, it's in Alabama practice.
Yeah.
In the SEC.
Right.
So that's definitely something to think about. Now, I think that's it, man. It's been a definitely very interesting show. So I still haven't made my pick. That boy Magic has lived a very charmed life. I'm gonna go Kansas City. Kansas City against the Commanders.
Okay,
and I'm sticking to it.
I got KC and Philly, and I think the reason I got Philly for obvious reason I already said. I got KC because I want to see a three-peat, but I do have a strong feeling that Buffalo is going to pull it off. I think this might be.
Well, I already picked the Commanders, so I don't have to repick them if Buffalo wins, because you already know why. But
yeah. But I'm gonna still go. I'm gonna still go with KC and Philly.
Storyline. Which? Not saying they couldn't get it, but which sports franchise invented the 3P? I'm not talking about who did it first. I'm talking about who invented who took the terminology and made it.
Was it Dallas?
No, because they never 3P.
Was that? You talking about who actually did a 3P?
No, who did it and it became the name.
Who did it? Wasn't it Chicago? The Bulls?
It was the LA Lakers.
Oh yeah, that's right. They did it first.
It was the LA Lakers who did the repeat, and then Pat Riley said, "I'm about
to do a 3P." Yeah,
the 3P. And who was on that Lakers team?
Yeah, number. It was it a number? They had a number 2. Who was it? Kobe?
Well, no. It was
I'm thinking
it's Magic era.
Magic. Why am I thinking that Kobe got a 3P also?
Well, they went for a 3P.
They went for it.
And Detroit beat them. But that's the Magic era.
Magic, Worthy, and Kareem.
So you have the NFL going for its first 3P against the guy who's on the team that invented
the 3P. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
The NFL kills mosquitoes with an axe.
Yeah, because if this happens, they would definitely bring it up.
Oh my, yes.
They would definitely bring it up.
Magic, and if they're in that game, Magic is like, no way.
Well, Magic, what do you say about I've lived a charmed life? That would be interesting. This piece of history to pull up if that happens.
Somebody in the NFL would enjoy stepping on Washington
again.
They would enjoy stepping on Washington's 4th. Now, mind you, it's crazy. Washington just kind of jumped. There's only 9 teams in the last decade, 9 NFL teams in the last decade that have not, and this is both conferences, been to a conference
championship. Yeah,
That is like the numbers start dwindling a little bit when you get to Super Bowl.
yeah. But getting to the conference
The conference
championship, yeah.
championship, that is amazing.
I
That
mean,
is that few teams. The NFL has done the parity game pretty
parity ain't very well.
very well. I will give them that. But at any rate, what am I missing, man?
What last words?
I just want to make sure we brought up
Yeah,
everything.
we got everything. Yeah.
All right. So with that being said, do you have any last?
Yeah, I got one. It's similar. It brings up some things that we talked about last show, but it goes back to records, errors, and things like that, particularly in the NFL. People were complaining about Saquon if he breaks the record he did in 17 games. We need to hold that against him. If people talk about quarterbacks' passing numbers are different because they're playing more games. They're doing. If my thing is this, there's different errors, there's different games. The number of games is increased. So if you're going to penalize guys because they're playing more games to get higher numbers, you've also got to keep that same energy, and you got to celebrate teams, particularly if the Chiefs do it, if they get this three-peat, because instead of or teams that win Super Bowls, period, since we've gone to 17 games. Because now, if you play your 17 regular season games, if you don't have a bye that first win, you want and make it to the and you play 3 playoff games and the Super Bowl. So now these guys have to play 20 games if you don't have a bye to get there. So you're playing, you can't penalize people for playing more games to set a record, but hold it against, but not at the same time give them grace and give them credit for having to play more games in order to get to the Super Bowl. It was the Dolphins had a chance to go 17-0. That would have to win. They went 17-0. 17 games is now a regular season in the NFL. You still got to play an additional 4 games to win the Super Bowl. 3 if you have the bye. But for the most part, you're going to be playing 4. So you're playing 20, 21 games now. You got to look at that as well and not hold it and stop holding things against guys because the error and the number of games and things have changed. You got to give the Chiefs a lot of credit for playing 60 plus games, 60 games, 64 games over a 3-year span if they make it to the Super Bowl, even if they don't, because that's more wear and tear on them. And it takes more to bounce back to win again, not just physically, but also mentally when you're playing extra games. And that's what they're doing. They're playing extra games. So I think we need to back off of the argument when somebody does something and saying, well, it's a different era or the games or the number of games is different. Because in the end, it's still football and you still have to get the job done because nobody's giving it to you. And the game progresses, things change. You can't fault guys for excelling. Well, you can't fault a player or a team for excelling in their era.
Absolutely. I just want to say, these are not my last word, but I just want to say, contextually, you do have to ask yourself, if he had more games to break the record, he also had less time to prepare for the season in order to get ready for the record in this era. He also had less rest time at the beginning to start to make his quest for the record. So contextually, you start. I think what you got to do is you kind of have to start at game 10 and kind of see progressions as they're going along in order to get that point. But yeah, we had very 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 profound last words. Now, my last words, I'm going to go back to our earlier discussion with Scottie Pippen, because we brought up some valid points and we brought up some people who, we do not want to diminish their draft spot, and we don't want to diminish their placement of who they were as players because they ended up getting on teams that had these solid number ones that you just couldn't get beyond. Because it's hard to argue against who these guys were. Because the same way that we Ralph Sampson and Akeem Olajuwon, there's a Tim Duncan and David Robinson argument out there. But for my last words, I'm going to call this: somebody is coming to see you, Otis. Do not believe that you're unimportant. What if Teddy would have believed he was unimportant to Harold Miller? What if Phillip believed Maurice White was good enough? What if Morris sat back there at the drums and believed Alexander O'Neal is the man? Big boy. What if he believed he just was under Andre? What if Ghostface believed he was under the chef? Parrish, Eric. Somebody coming to see you, Otis. Eddie, Paul. We know what dude was. But go down to Hicks. I got some too. I'm harmonizing just as much as you harmonizing. So anybody that gets in that situation, anybody that finds themselves in a situation where you know who you are, Big Game James. Big Game James is on North Carolina with Sam Perkins, and a young man was coming up, number 3, named Michael Jordan. We only know him. Let's be real. We only know him because Dean said they gonna double team you, James.
Mm-hmm.
Go be the decoy. We're gonna kick it out to the young man and make him a name. So I just want to let all y'all know, if you ever find yourself in that position, they're coming to see you, Otis. Don't believe you're not important. And that's all I got to say.
Just one thing to piggyback off what you said. If you remember this line from this movie, what he just said and summed up is, you is kind, you is smart, you is important.
You is important. Hey, hold on. Hey, but for real. There are those times when you catch up with a flash and be like, oh, you trying to take my spot. Don't get me right. That happens too.
Yeah.
That happens too. But at any rate, man, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. That's NOJASSSHOW. If you're looking for us on Google, hit that @ampersand. Make sure you follow us on TikTok. Thank you again for, I believe, from this week. And God bless us all. We're trying to get up to 20,000 followers by the end of the year. You do what you can to get us up to 20,000, please.
Yeah. Share,
and because we are definitely on our way, and we are trying to get there. To our sponsors, thank you so much for always being there for us. But I think we got about 7 more this week. TikTok, 1 more just as of before we taped on YouTube. Engagement in the Facebook group has gone up. I've noticed, like, we aren't the only ones posting. Thank you guys, and we will engage with you. We know there's a lot of groups out there where you don't get your feedback, or you don't get to say what you say. Be different, because that's what you're getting from us. It's a different storyline, and if you want to, man, hit refresh. Hit the refresh button in the group.
Definitely.
So we are here for you. Thank you all for joining us today. And Tank, do your patented thing. Get the people that salute. We are out. You just watched another episode of No Jazz. Follow us on YouTube at No Jazz Show. And make sure you hit us up on Twitter at No Jazz Show. Make sure you hit us up on Instagram at NOJ.A.S.S. Follow us on Facebook, on our Facebook page at No Jazz Show. All right? See you soon.